Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that is literally reshaping how we interact with the law. We're talking about the dawn of AI lawyering. Historically, the legal landscape has been this highly exclusive, wildly expensive walled garden. It's really been an era defined by lawfare, where those with the deepest pockets simply outlasted those without. But we're now seeing a new class of technology emerge, and it's acting as a legal sovereignty shield, effectively ending that era of lawfare. It's fundamentally altering who actually gets to build and argue an effective case.
Okay, let's dive into this. What happens when anyone, and I mean anyone, can suddenly wield the analytical power of a top-tier legal team? For decades, the balance of power in civil court has heavily favored those who could afford to pay hundreds of dollars an hour for exhaustive legal research. But what happens when the absolute heavy lifting, extracting case law, drafting motions, tracking complex procedure, becomes instantly accessible through software? Does it finally level the playing field, or are we just introducing a whole new set of complications?
To unpack all of this, here is our roadmap for today. 1. The access to justice gap. 2. The AI lawyering breakthrough. 3. Empowering pro se litigants. 4. The risks of AI hallucinations. And 5. The future of court efficiency.
Starting right off with Section 1, the access to justice gap.
Take a look at this number, 66%. According to the U.S. Justice Needs Study by the Hague Institute for Innovation of Law and IALLS, 66% of the population experienced at least one legal issue in the past 4 years. But here's the truly heartbreaking part. Just 49% of those problems were actually resolved. For millions of everyday people, hiring a lawyer for even a straightforward civil case is completely out of reach financially. That leaves them to navigate this crazy, labyrinthine court system entirely on their own, which unfortunately often results in default judgments just because they didn't understand the procedural rules.
Which brings us to Section 2, the AI lawyering breakthrough.
And this brilliantly illustrates what's going on. To see how this tech works in practice, we're looking at a fascinating 2026 randomized controlled trial from the University of Minnesota. One of the grading co-authors used this perfect bowling metaphor to describe human-only legal work versus AI-assisted work. The AI isn't just acting as a fancy spell checker, it's providing structural guardrails. It prevents those massive mistakes, the gutter balls, while at the same time giving you deep strategic guidance on how to tackle the really complex legal analysis.
So you might be wondering, how is it doing this without just making things up? The answer is a technology called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG. This is absolutely crucial to understand. A standard AI model might just guess at a legal precedent based on its general training. But a RAG system, like the one powering Vincent AI during this study, is physically tethered to actual authoritative legal databases. It retrieves the specific case law first, and then generates its analysis strictly based on those documents. It totally bridges the gap between a simple chatbot and a legitimate legal research assistant.
Now, what's really interesting about this data is looking at these density graphs from the University of Minnesota study. It's visual proof of how drastically these tools accelerate human effort. That light gray curve on the right, that represents people working without AI, spending upwards of 100 to 150 minutes on standard legal tasks. But look at the dark curves, shifted way over to the left, representing folks using OpenAI's o1 preview and Vincent AI. Suddenly, the bulk of the work is being knocked out in just 50 to 80 minutes. The time savings here are massive.
And when we quantify those graphs, the numbers are just staggering. We are literally moving from the 1.4x slow productivity of traditional manual legal review to the 86x efficiency of AI-native workflows. The AI achieves this incredible leap by doing what's called narrowing the review surface. It pinpoints the exact issues so the human user doesn't have to sift through hundreds of irrelevant pages. By streamlining that early-stage research, the AI frees up the human to actually invest their time in refining their overarching legal strategy.
Now, the study also highlighted some distinct strengths of different AI architectures. Vincent AI relies heavily on RAG, which proved to be incredibly effective at keeping the output accurate and firmly tied to real citations. On the flip side, OpenAI's o1 preview is a reasoning model, which absolutely excels at structuring deep analytical rigor and organizing highly complex arguments. The study basically concluded that integrating both, the pure domain-specific accuracy of RAG with the deep logic of a reasoning model, yields incredibly powerful results, elevating both the quality and the depth of the legal analysis.
Let's move on to Section 3, empowering pro se litigants.
Because of these breakthroughs, we are now seeing the rise of dedicated platforms designed specifically to unbundle legal services for self-represented individuals. Take Courtroom5, for instance. It was actually founded by two non-lawyers who intimately knew the deep frustration of fighting in civil court without representation. They partnered with Fast Case's massive law library to essentially give regular people a litigator's toolset. It's about ending the era where you could be defeated simply by a lack of resources. Or look at Prosei AI, a platform providing self-help software that tracks deadlines, organizes evidence, and drafts motions using these exact advanced language models we've been talking about.
Let's move to and see how this builds a really practical workflow for someone who doesn't have a law degree. On platforms like Prosei AI, the journey is super streamlined. Step 1, you upload your court orders and evidence, and the AI automatically pulls out the key dates and facts. Step 2, you just describe what you need in plain English, and the AI drafts a properly formatted court document complete with statutory citations. Step 3, you verify those citations, make your edits, and file it yourself. Now, it's absolutely crucial to note, these platforms explicitly state they are not lawyers. They do not provide legal advice. They are self-help software tools, but they put serious organizational and drafting power directly into the hands of the litigator.
Section 4. The risks of AI hallucinations.
We can't talk about all these benefits without addressing the risks, because relying on AI in a high-stakes environment like a courtroom carries very real dangers. A 2024 study by Dahl and colleagues tested public-facing large language models on federal court cases. And the results? Honestly, pretty alarming. Hallucination rates, where the AI confidently states completely false information, range from 58% in ChatGPT-4 all the way up to 88% in Llama 2. Now, while the newer reasoning models and RAG systems of 2026 have improved these numbers significantly, hallucinations in court filings are still a major issue we have to watch out for.
And this risk is uniquely compounded for the pro se litigant. According to the recent literature, when regular people try to describe their legal claims, they often use popular misconceptions or vague lay terminology. That ambiguity confuses the AI. The scariest part is when the AI accepts the user's mistaken legal premise as a hard fact and then builds an entire, highly convincing but totally invalid argument right on top of it. If a user doesn't meticulously verify the AI's output, they could easily end up submitting deeply flawed documents to a judge.
Wrapping up with Section 5, the future of court efficiency. So the crucial point is, if we can successfully manage those risks of hallucinations, how do these tools actually change the broader justice system? It comes down to what researchers called a platform procedure effect. Literature on online dispute resolution, or ODR, shows that when we use technology to strip away the unnecessary administrative costs of going to court, stuff like taking time off work or wrestling with complex formatting, we aren't just making things cheaper, we're actually making the application of the law more accurate. By lowering that barrier to entry, valid cases don't just default to the status quo. Parties are finally empowered to negotiate based on the actual facts and the law, meaning final outcomes track much closer to what the on-the-books law intended in the first place. As AI natively integrates into our legal workflows, slashing the time it takes to draft complex analysis and putting incredibly powerful organizational tools right in the pockets of self-represented litigants, we are watching a fundamental transformation of civil procedure. The barriers to entry are falling, and they're falling fast. But it leaves us with one really vital question to ponder. As this technology matures, will AI finally make the scales of justice balance for everyone, or is it just going to change how the legal game is played? Thank you so much for joining this explainer. We really encourage you to keep exploring this fascinating intersection of technology and the law.